All right, welcome back to a special episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. We are going to zero in on Giants rookie quarterback Jaxson Dart and the entire remade quarterback room here in New York with none other than former NFL QB Matt Sims, co-host of the Sims Complete podcast on the Believe Network, also works on Sirius Radio and is a high-level trainer of future star QBs here in Bergen County, New Jersey. Thrilled to have Matt on the podcast. He has forgotten more football than I know. We are brought to you here by several sponsors. We are grateful to have My Bookie, Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, and Sal Loretta for Men. Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting oxidants and heart-healthy compounds. They also have the cold teas for these summer months, the Sweet Dreams, Rise and Shine, and Midday Boost. The code at boomchaga.com is TalkinBall25. Start feeling the difference today. My Bookie, the place to place all of your sports bets as you tail Pat's picks throughout the NFL season, as well as the money bag, partner picks, daily bet boosts, a lot of offerings that other books just don't have. Plus WWE, UFC, the best place to bet those events and sports. Use the code Leonard, my last name Leonard, at mybookie.ag and get a 50% deposit bonus redeemable all the way up to $1,000. Hooks, Rubs, and Spices as well, owned and operated by Jared, diehard Giants fan from Houston. Can put it on anything. Smoked wings, cheesy nachos, flat top burgers, ribs, brisket sandwiches. Use the code TalkinBall for 15% off discount. He's got some great swag on the website too. It's hooksrub.com, at hooksrub, wherever you follow on social media. Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, we smoke meat. And of course, Sal Loretta for Men in Midland Park, New Jersey. Luxury menswear and tailoring to get me looking right for all of my arrivals at Giants and NFL games, and even through the Super Bowl going to Santa Clara this year. Go to Sal Loretta's and tell them that Pat Leonard sent you. All right, without further ado, real excited about this. It is Matt Sims joining us here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. All right, welcome back to the Talking Ball with Pat Leonard podcast. As promised, it is the one and only Matt Sims, co-host of the Sims Complete podcast on the Believe Network. Does work with Sirius Radio, knows a ton of ball, and also a high-level trainer for future star QBs up here in New Jersey. Matt, thank you so much for joining. Really thrilled to have you on, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And yeah, let's do it, man. Let's talk some ball. A lot of exciting time right now in the NFL, especially for the New York Giants and for a lot of football players and franchises across the league. So it's exciting. And that's just another level of just, hey, what are we getting into now for the football season, right, as we get another day closer to it?
Yeah, no doubt. And as you mentioned, a lot of excitement, especially here in New York, New Jersey, the tri-state area with first-round pick Jaxson Dart. I wanted to zero in on the Giants QB situation, but especially the excitement around this first-round quarterback. He has 372 passing yards, 52 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and a 68.1 completion percentage in the preseason. Matt, people always say don't overreact to the preseason. He's still young. He's still developing. But do you think the level of excitement is valid for the Giants fans to feel as good as they do right now about Jaxson, even though it's only preseason, based on the tape that you've seen and what he's done on the field so far?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we should be excited, right? The narrative the past few years has been, of course, just been spoken about ad nauseum now, and now we're starting a new era in this Shane Dayball world, and Jaxson Dart, I think, has performed extremely well. And we can all see that just when we watch him play, the confidence, right, that kind of pours through the TV screen when he is out there, right? His swagger and all of that, it is a real thing. You do see that energy that he brings to the field, and it's exciting. We should be pumped about it because the dude really did display one great decision making, the courage and ability to throw the football on time and in rhythm aggressively. And that's something that was kind of a question mark these past few years. The ability to make plays and extend plays inside and outside the pocket with his pocket movement, his experience from college has showed up in his young career already. And not only that too, but dude's tough, right? Dude's not afraid of a little action. Now, we all would like a little less of that action, especially in preseason. But at the same time, he does show that he has another level of competitive gear that I think we're all excited to see a little bit more of.
if you were the coach and you could pick one play from his preseason to, you're watching film, you show it to the full team, you show it to the offense, and you say, Jaxson, this is what I want everyone to see that you did. That whether it was unexpected or it was high level or it was just genuinely impressive for a rookie, which play would you put up on the screen and show the team and say, this kid's got it?
Yeah, I would say there was definitely a few. One touchdown pass, right, when he threw the little skinny post there to Fedone. I think that was one that was really shocking to me, as far not shocking, but I would say, but just at least with he knew he was most likely going to throw it. It was tight coverage. There wasn't a huge window there to throw it. It's a low red zone football play, and he absolutely did not hesitate for a second, ripped it in there into a tight window. It was a little bit on the back shoulder. And I said this to you in private, kind of off, right, interview. When you play and practice like that, then those plays look that much more routine in the game. And I think that's something that, like, he was doing it in practice. I saw it myself in practice a few different occasions. It translated well to the game, and just his confidence to throw it, his ability to put some gas on it when he needed to in that low red zone area. Because in the low red zone, you can only be so creative, right? You can only high low and do all this stuff, right, to get defenders out of place. That sometimes you really just got to say, hey, I'm going to force this in there and make this play and
Just
make it
rip
work
it.
for our
Yeah.
team. And he showed that. So that was one of those examples. And then there was the high corner as well on a play action pass, where typically it's a 3-level vertical. You're looking at the field where it's like, all right, the big shot, right? That intermediate throw towards the sideline, and then the check down to the flat, right? A typical high-low read for quarterbacks. And it's called a pylon route, where basically the receiver is going like towards the middle of the upright of the field, and then he breaks that high corner of the back end line, and he pulled that trigger, man, and he ripped it out there. It didn't have much air, but damn, he got it out there, and
Bo
it was, I think,
Collins.
yeah, exactly, to Bo Collins, and he dropped the ball. He dropped it, and he still gave him an opportunity to catch it, but it was a drop. And I think that was one of those plays where it reminded me, he's a young football player. He's not worried about the stat sheet. He's worried about, right, just imposing his will and his talents on the defense, right? And being challenging, right? And challenging the defense to be, hey, this is not just an alert. This isn't a run through. This guy, if he's open, I'm going to throw it. And I'm sure the receiver room saw it exactly that exact same way. So, and then there was a little scramble where he found a little dunk on the line of scrimmage there for like a big explosive play, where you could just see the years of experience, where he's moving up in the pocket, a lot of traffic. Everyone looks to be covered. Oh, yeah, somebody's open, dishes it out really quickly, very casually for an explosive play. So those are 3 examples that I saw in preseason where you got to be excited for Jaxson Dart and his ability and really his ceiling as a football player.
You made a comment right off the bat of this interview where you said that you notice the translation of his level of experience from college
Yeah.
to the NFL so far. Where does that show up for you? Like when you're watching a young player like him, what are the things he's doing early? And it might be some of what you just described in some of those plays, but what is he doing that makes you say the fact that he's gotten so much work at such a high level, going back to he's at USC, but then Ole Miss, what's showing up to you there for the experience factor?
I think fortunately, unfortunately, for modern NFL football players, there's a lot of former players like myself who are now in this media world. And we know just a little bit more, I think, than the average fan when we're watching the game, right? And when you watch Jaxson Dart play, you can just see that he's super comfortable, man. He's super comfortable in his own skin. He's super comfortable in the way that he carries himself, the way that he breaks the huddle, the way that he communicates with the coaches on the sideline. And when you watch him go through his reads, you know that he's doing it exactly the way that he was coached to do. And
You mean because of the speed it's happening that you see?
the speed that it's happening, how he goes through his progression, when he naturally moves, when he's forced to move, or when it presents itself to move, everything is just very, it's nonchalant. It's not a lot of hard work. And I think that's what's exciting for us. Like even when I talk to my young quarterbacks, when I'm coaching them, I'm like, when you work hard, when you understand what you're doing, when you are really sharp at your craft, the game gets easier. And everyone in the stands will say the same thing. This kid just makes it look easy. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we've seen so far for Jaxson Dart in the preseason, right? And of course,
Yeah.
everyone will say, well, it's not starters, it's this, it's simple defenses. Nah, BS, man. It looked easy. He did it on 3 different occasions. And to me, he absolutely proved why, or made a valid case as to why Dayball and Shane moved up to get him in the first round.
How challenging is it? One thing I noticed, along with what you said, the comfort level of going through and making the right play. That play to Gunnar Olszewski where he held on to it, he stepped up into the pocket. He almost started to run forward, but kept his eyes up. And then the coverage busted, and Olszewski's wide open, ends up being a 50-yard gain. But what does it take as a quarterback, from your own experience even, how challenging is it to keep your eyes up that late in a play? Because it does seem like one thing he's shown early is like as the play drags on and the pressure starts to close in, he does not drop his head and abandon the pass play. How challenging is that for a quarterback?
It really just kind of depends on the style of play in which you developed all these years leading up to these moments, right? And we've seen a few quarterbacks in the NFL where that their style is like they are moving to create space to run or to create space to scramble and extend plays. He's moving to continue to play as a passer. He's moving, right, to still take advantage of, oh, yeah, my toe is still behind the line. I can rip this in there into the back corner for that touchdown and not worry about it. And that's, again, just the style that he has developed with all of his years of experience, at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. And his skill set really does match, I feel like, the NFL modern quarterback, too, where he's got a powerful arm. He's got a quick release. He makes quick decisions. He's got a ton of experience. And not only that, too, but he can move and create plays with his feet, but he's not searching for those plays, right? He's not going out of his way to feel his way into the game. Let me run and scramble because I didn't want to throw the number 1 read, and that's where, we've seen a few quarterbacks here recently, or high level quarterbacks that, have been highly touted coming out of college. And you could see that they're not super comfortable with just letting it go, right? And trusting their instincts and what they see, and they're hesitating, and it looks clunky at times. And you don't get any of that from Jaxson Dart at all.
Not to over pump the tires here. You can do with this question whatever you want, but this is something that I feel I've noticed, and even having conversations in the pre-draft. Listen, I'm not calling him Josh Allen. Okay. I'm not saying he's the MVP of the league, but in the context of Brian Daboll having an affinity for him as a player in his offense.
Yeah.
I mean, you see some of these freeze frames of him he's looking at him like he's his son, like
that's right.
He couldn't have more of an affinity for him. So my question to you is, do you think that the similarities in either skill set, fit, and character and toughness, do you think Daboll sees a little Josh Allen there, and that is why not only that they're excited about him as a player, but why they don't think this is just preseason, like why they went and up and got him, because they do see a Josh Allen resemblance as far as the overall game.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the whole like comparing him to Josh Allen, but they saw similar things in Josh Allen. They saw someone who's a good athlete. They saw someone who has tremendous arm talent. They saw someone who in our system will thrive even more so, right? More experience, right, than Josh Allen as far as playing in a high level conference, right? And consistently week in and week out having the pressure of essentially a franchise on your back. So actually in that case, he checks a box more so than Josh Allen, because nobody give a damn about Wyoming football, right? Ole Miss, I mean, it is a part of a huge culture, just like it is here for the Giants. So in a sense, he actually, I think, comes into the league with a little bit more of an ability, right, for his skill set to translate to the NFL, not even just on the field, but some of the stuff that he's had to deal with and the pressures of being the guy off the field as well.
So still a young player, though, still developing.
Yeah.
If you were constructively looking at what you've seen from him in both practice, because you've been out there on the practice field and in the games, if you're coaching him or obviously have insight into the way that the Giants are bringing him along, what would you be emphasizing with him and wanting to see more of, or want to see him improve on as he acclimates and works his way up to eventually at some point playing?
Yeah, I think this is where, you can take a page out of a lot of other veteran quarterbacks like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Jalen Hurts, and even how, how Josh Allen has developed as well here in these past few years. Of It's a long game, it's a marathon. It's not won in the first quarter, but you could damn near lose the game in the first quarter if you're reckless and stupid, right? So for him, even the example of him cutting up, right, when he was scrambling the other day,
Yeah.
that's like one of those things where Dayball is gonna be like, "Hey, man, I love it. I love your attitude. I appreciate you being aggressive, but let's remember too, right? Those 2 yards don't mean anything to us in the grand scheme of things. If you get your shoulder pinned to the ground and you separate your AC joint, right? And the grand scheme is you need to be there for the next play every single time for us to continue to build this momentum for yourself and not only for our team and our offense." And I think that's the biggest challenge most young quarterbacks have in the NFL is you're trying to constantly prove, right, that you're the man, right, to kind of, show that you got it. But at the same time, it's really kind of showing that you got it right through that marathon race from the start to the end of the year, right? And picking and choosing the proper battles of when to really say, yeah, I'm going to cut it loose or I'm going to be super aggressive here to go win the football game. And, he's got guys in his own division, I think, that have done a great job of doing that and navigating those things as young QBs.
Matt, could you make an argument for Jaxson Dart needing to be the Giants starter right off the bat? Or do you think that, as you and I sit here in late August, do you think that their plan to roll with Russell Wilson, despite all the positives Jackson's shown, is the right move for the organization and for the player?
I think it is the right move for him to kind of keep him in that second tier for the moment. I think September is a very strange month for football teams, for organizations, for offensive lines. And
Yeah.
you don't want your young quarterback to have to work through that process of all the other things, right? And that's where, hey, let a veteran work through these things. Let a veteran who has been through a turbulent September to help the team adjust to these are the things we do well, these are the things we don't do well. This is what we're going to highlight this player in these situations more now because we feel like this is an angle for us to attack defenses more consistently. And it's good for Jackson to sit back and kind of watch this from afar and still know that he's one play away from being that guy. And I think it's just going to allow him to continue to gain confidence. That's one thing my father always shared about his rookie year. He was started on the bench. And of course, like by week 3 or 4, he was like, "Oh yeah, I got this. I can do this. This is no problem. I definitely make some plays in the league." And for Jackson, I know that he already feels that way,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no doubt if he sits there and watches just a little bit, right, and gets the feel and the vibe of it, I know there's no doubt that he will feel that exact same way very, very quickly after he watches a few games from that lens.
Are you impressed with how the Giants quarterbacks have navigated kind of the potential landmines of all of these moving parts of Jackson challenging Russ being the starter, but Jackson being promising, Jameis Winston at the moment, as you and I sit here, being the 3, Tommy DeVito. Jameis has experience, but has taken a back seat. I mean, you've been in these quarterback rooms and locker rooms. Would it be easy for it to go the other way?
Oh,
Given all the personalities.
it's too easy for it to go the other way. And I think that's where I commend people like Jameis Winston, because I know that he just said, all right, I know this is awkward. We're just going to throw everything against the wall. Hey, we're the 3 amigos, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's the beauty of certain football players on your team that go beyond the stat sheet, right? A lot of fans will be like, oh, well, Jameis Winston, yeah, he's fun to watch. It's a good interview, but maybe he's not our guy. And it's like, no, Jameis brings another aspect to the football team that really is hard to duplicate. It's hard to create. It's hard to fabricate because
Mm.
that's really who he is. And that's a very powerful thing. And I know Tommy DeVito, Jaxson Dart, they absolutely appreciated the hell out of the presence of Jameis Winston because, in all honesty, I'm not sure if that room has that same dynamic if Jameis Winston is removed from it. I'm not sure if that room
Mm.
gels as cleanly with Russell Wilson hanging on to being QB1 towards the end of his career, so to speak, in a lot of ways, and kind of like his last hurrah, maybe being QB1. And with Jaxson Dart saying, no, hey, I got skill set. I can do this, like all that. And then Tommy DeVito finding his way and working through this progress as well. A guy that's the longest tenured Giant in that quarterback room. So I think Jameis Winston did a phenomenal job, I think, of wiping away all of that other narrative and just making like, hey, we're guys that enjoy playing football, right? Let's support each other. Let's have some fun. Let's just cut it loose and be New York Giants. And I think the Giants franchise also brings that, right? I don't think every franchise can have or adapt to that situation. That's a credit to the Maras and the Tisches for creating such an environment, such a professional environment, right? As one of the original NFL franchises.
That's a really good point about Jameis being the glue there too. So one of the main qualities of an offense they're trying to get out of this new quarterback room is explosiveness, right? It's ball security, but it's explosiveness. So I came into this, Matt, into the summer thinking that even though it wasn't a competition early on, I figured given Jameis's tenure, there might be a little bit more of a Jameis versus, Jameis having an opportunity maybe to challenge for the job against a Russell, against a Jaxson Dart, et cetera. Why is it the right move? As you said, Jameis has served all of these good purposes throughout the summer for the Giants. But what is the reason why Russell and giving it to Russell and giving it to him early is the right decision for this team?
I think it really is just like it's the safest bet right now, right? You got to almost think about like these football players at times as just like a stock, right, in the market. And right now, it's like Russell. Hey, his company's just been around a little bit longer. It's had some ups and downs, no doubt, but it's had a lot of successes. It's been more consistent than a lot of other teams and other quarterbacks across the league. And of course, like a little bit of his brand took some shots, right, with the Denver situation and all that. And, people saying that maybe he's not like super authentic, but like Russell is exactly who he needs to be, right, for the New York Giants, right? And I think both parties know the overall scope of the quarterback room. And I think both parties are very comfortable just saying, like, yes, we know the roles that we fit. We're going to play into them. You have a great skill set. We need just some good leadership and solid quarterback play more consistently to start the year. He's the guy to do that for you. And, I credit Russell too, man, because he's all smiles, the way that he carries himself, even the other day when I was at practice and how he said what's up to me and how he's just so excited to be a Giant and to be there. And the presence that the executive part of the Giants and the scouting department and the coaches and all that, you could just see that he feels really comfortable and really optimistic about being a New York Giant. And that's a powerful thing. And I think that will translate into good play as well.
So one thing that also stood out as far as the offense evolving and excitement building for what could look different this year is them showing this tempo offense with Dart in the lineup in this. I think it was in the final preseason game here against the Patriots. Two questions for you. One, is putting that out there on tape now, does that give you an advantage because it forces all these other defenses to have to plan for it? And two, is that something that Russell can run and operate as easily as Dart can? Because this is what Dart did at Ole Miss. It comes naturally to him. This was the Lane Kiffin offense. Like the call it period was their offense. So can Russ run that as well as Dart if they want to use it with the veteran? And then does it give you a game plan advantage because it adds an element of kind of pressure onto the opposition?
Yeah, it's just one other thing that the defense has to prepare for, right? And it's just another thing that takes up time in that install meeting. And when you're breaking down a film of like, hey, they got this, this, and this, and oh yeah, we got to also prepare for the tempo aspect of it. These are the group of plays that they typically lean into with the tempo stuff. And hey, don't forget when they get in this play, or this formation, we've seen this play from their normal down and distance stuff. We haven't seen it in tempo. We got to prepare for it. So you're just making the defense and the defensive coordinator have to check another box and spend more time on certain aspects, right, of their offense. There's no doubt that Russell can operate that offense. It might look a little bit different as far as which are his plays that he feels a little bit more comfortable with than what Jaxson does. Tempo, I think, is one of the greatest assets, I think, for all quarterbacks in the NFL, and something that I think is very underutilized in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan, when I was with the Atlanta Falcons, utilized tempo a lot. We even saw Sean McVay use tempo with Jared Goff there early on when they made their Super Bowl run, right? As a way to help his young quarterback get more vanilla looks, so to speak, right? Get a little bit more basic defenses because you're pushing them, right? They can't quite make so many checks and so many aggressive blitzes when you're going up tempo that way. You're keeping players on the field. So there's a level of endurance and stamina that you're challenging the defense to come up to. And you're allowing your quarterback, I think, the advantage, right, of being able to see a little bit more of a straightforward look to make his decision a little bit quicker and allow an offensive line that's still learning how to gel take the offensive, right? To be a little bit more on the aggressive side, knowing, hey, I know these group of plays that we're going to run and we can be a more aggressive laying into people in the run game, or knowing that I'm going to get these certain looks in certain obvious passing situations. So it's a great tool for all quarterbacks. The other part of it that I think is very important for them that we discussed privately is the added screens that the New York Giants have been running in the preseason. This is something that we did not see in the past, and they have absolutely made an effort to get the running back screen involved in their offensive more, and I think it's been very, very effective. And not only that, it's been extremely explosive for them offensively, and that's another layer that can be very difficult for over-aggressive defenses. Screens are very effective for teams like, let's say the Philadelphia Eagles, who can really rush the passer, right? So for them to develop that part of their offense really was a sign that they noticed that this offseason. There was something missing, right? There was a selection of plays that they really could sprinkle in there to add a more difficult way, right, to attack defenses. And I think screens and of course this up-tempo are huge parts of that.
Yeah, and truth be told, even though I loved a lot of Daniel Jones's physical traits, he could drive the ball well. The one throw he always struggled with was the touch screen. Like that wasn't really one of his strengths.
Yeah.
And so that is a clear difference. But I also wanted to note too, you had mentioned earlier this idea of throwing like that deep pylon route to Bo Collins and the confidence of him throwing it, putting confidence in the receivers. And I wanted to get back to that just quickly because I had a conversation with Zach Pascal, recently released, who spent training camp with Jaxson, a lot of reps with the twos. And he said something very similar to me about the fact that Dart was making so many throws in practice that receivers weren't necessarily expecting from a rookie.
Right.
That it then put it in the back of receivers' heads that they knew the ball was always coming to them. It was always a chance. And I bring that up to kind of ask you, like, when you were in the NFL, was that something as a quarterback that you remember learning or applying, in your career while you were playing and practicing with these guys? Because it really, this guy was glowing talking about how Dart, not fretting about any of these throws really was like a change in how the receivers ran their routes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of my better skill sets that I had when I did play, knowing the fact that I had a little bit of a reputation of being a gunslinger and cutting it loose and not necessarily worrying about if it was like the perfect decision. And for Jaxson, I think he's the same way. I think a lot of young quarterbacks are a little bit like this, and why they can be so exciting for veterans too. When you've been in the league for such a long period of time and you are successful, I think you do kind of fall under the trap of like, all right, I've been burned with this concept once or twice in my career. I don't check that route really anymore. Like I look at the area quickly, but I'm really going here to here and that's it, And whereas young guys are just kind of like, oh man, he's a baller. He's a baller. If he's one-on-one, I'm going to throw it. It's just that simple. Right. And I remember even in my own career, we had a play. I was in Atlanta for the preseason. We had a play that was designed for a specific coverage. I didn't get that coverage in the preseason. I threw a whole shot with the go route down the sideline between the safety and the corner, got to the sideline. And I remember Matt LaFleur being like, man, was that awesome? I mean, we haven't had that coverage and that rep and no one's ever, and he looked at Matt Ryan. He's like, Matt Ryan, is that cool? And Matt was like, yeah, I guess so. And like, Matt was kind of like, I'm not making that throw, so let's not even talk about this, right? And probably did the old like, it's preseason, like it's the third safety in the third corner. Who cares? Like, we're not doing this versus this vaunted Baltimore Ravens defense or something like that. So But that kind of stuff helped my reputation in the quarterback room and of course, with the team, knowing that I had that fearlessness aspect of my play. And I think that's what Jaxson Dart did as well in this exact same situation. Russell's going through it. He's going to make a clean decision, a quick decision, get the football out of his hands, right? Survive, play the next play. Jaxson, no doubt. He's not really worried about that part of his game yet. He wants to make that play now, right? Why wait? I'm going to do it now, right? And for him in that specific example with Bo Collins, I want to say he like looked at the clear out, looked at the corner that was underneath it or the flat out route, and then went back to Bo Collins again because he was so well protected. And I just know that like guys like Malik, when they see that throw, they're like, yes, this is what I want. And even if it's a wrong decision, which in this case it was not, but like if it was a wrong decision, to see your quarterback make that throw and to be that bold really does say, oh man, you know what? He's going to throw it to me here. Even if I am covered well, he still might give me that opportunity. And it just brings another level of intensity, I think, to that whole room, knowing that everybody's live and everybody can make that big play that they dream to make.
It's funny because Pascal actually said it was the same concept, the sail concept, the 3 layers, and the play and practice that got everybody really excited, he says, was Dart looks at the flat, pumps it to bring the corner down to the flat, and then threw the deep out.
Yeah.
And that it's a throw that quarterbacks make and NFL quarterbacks make, but not that rookies make in May, June, and July after they were drafted in April.
And hey, he's got Lane Kiffin there, he's got Charlie Weiss Jr. there in Ole Miss. And to think, that's what bothered me, right? When I was there for Sirius XM and I interviewed Jaxson Dart, I was like, tell me about the narrative that, Lane Kiffin was a college rinky-dink offense and it couldn't prepare you for the NFL. And I really set him up that way because I wanted to be like, yeah, it's stupid. It's a dumb narrative. And he did, right? And I really appreciate him being that honest because it was silly, right? It was dumb. And it doesn't matter if it was a rinky-dink offense, which it wasn't. But even if it was, when you accumulate thousands of snaps at the position, I don't give a damn if you're running the triple option or not. Being out there for more than 1,000 snaps and being the guy really does give you a certain level of confidence and awareness that really is just, it's hard to replicate.
Yeah, there is. You're really crystallizing for me something that I noticed but didn't apply the X's and O's to, is that when the lights come on, he does seem comfortable. Like, he's the word I always throw out there is gamer. And I know there's no analytics behind something like that,
right?
But you're describing the real football behind what I think you can see when he's on the field, which is he wants to play in games. He wants to be the guy,
right?
He wants the ball. It's not, oh, it's my turn. Hope I do well. It's give it to me. Like, I'm going to take this by the reins. That's what I see from Dart.
And I think that's ultimately what Daboll really fell in love with as well, right? When I interviewed Daboll that same day as Jaxson, his, hey, what are the things that you like? And he looked at me and he looked me dead in the eye, right? To the point where it was like, kind of like, all right, coach, a little uncomfortable here. All right. And he was just like highly competitive, highly. Right. And I was just like, totally got it. Know exactly what you mean. And when I interviewed Jaxson, there he is. He shakes my hand. He shook my hand strong, and I appreciated it, right? Because there is something like when people that's one of the first things I tell my young QBs when I'm training them. I'm like, hey, shake my hand, right? Like, look me in the eye. Say, what's up, coach? Let's go. And he did that. Then he shifted over because I was like kind of on that part of the hill, right, of the practice field. And I was like a little bit taller than he liked. And he moved over. So he was on the same level as the hill as me. Unfortunately for him, I was still a little taller. But either way, I like the fact that he was like that aware of it and was like, I'm not going to have this look during this interview, right? And some people at home might be like, well, hey, are you really worried about when you're trying to be that type of dude in the world of sports and all that? Yes, this is how you have to think, right? And this is how crazy we are, right? When we run around with tights and a shoulder pad and a helmet, right? This is what happens when you play this game for too long. You get to that point where all of those things matter. right? All of them matter, right? Even it could be the silliest thing ever. Those things matter. And that showed there. And I think that's, again, another reason why Coach Dayball really feels that way about him when you hear him speak about Jaxson Dart.
Great insight, Matt. Great insight. Couple quick ones. I know your time is tight. Closing the Jaxson Dart conversation.
Yes, sir.
So I believe that if you look at the last, let's say 10, 15 years in the NFL,
Yeah.
first round quarterbacks play, and they usually play a lot earlier than people think they're going to. You already laid out in great detail and very informatively why it's the right move to start with Russell, manage September, let Jackson get out of the way of that before he plays. But I don't know if you like the prediction business, but if you had to predict, how early do you think Jaxson Dart starts a game for the Giants? I'll tell you, I think there's a package for him in week 1, and I think he starts definitely before middle October. But that's just based on what I feel like the NFL has become now. Like, I just feel like the second they hit adversity with Russell and the amount they love Jackson and the amount they believe in him. And, I would add this is a long-winded question, but he adds so much energy to the team. And like you said, it goes right through the television. You can feel it.
Yeah.
It also feels like it will be difficult for Daboll not to go there if the team needs a jump. But I guess the short question is, how early do you think Jaxson Dart starts a game for the Giants as a rookie?
I mean, the earlier is really, I think, more of a sign of just it's not going the way that we wanted it to. I really do think that for like Russell, like we're going to see another level of Malik Neighbors, right? We're going to see a little bit more of a dynamic aspect to Malik Neighbors that way. I hope to see a little bit more from the tight end position too, despite maybe that not being Russell's calling card in the past with that position. But as far as when we'll see Jackson, yeah, I guess I'll go with like a little bit of a longer period. I'll say November, right? Is like maybe that'll be the time, because I feel like by then we'll know as a fan base, right, as a franchise, just how it all has gone down, right? What has taken place. We've given Russell another opportunity to kind of work through some of these other early season problems. Okay, yeah, now we're more comfortable making that move. That being said, of course, it's a super violent game, and the quarterback position is under duress a lot, and a lot of crazy things can happen. So ultimately, it doesn't matter. The Giants have a good situation. They got
No
a good
doubt.
veteran quarterback. They got another really good veteran backup, right? And they got a really young rising star that's super talented as well. And oh, yeah, let's not forget about our boy Tommy DeVito, and let's see how that plays out, which probably is playing out behind the scenes literally as we speak right now.
Literally as we speak.
Yeah.
Exactly. All we know about Tommy DeVito is whether you're listening and watching this, whether he's on the team at the time you're watching or he's not.
He's an NFL football player, dog. That's all I know. And he should be playing. And honestly, with a lot of backup situations right now, damn, I think a lot of teams would be really happy to have a guy like Tommy DeVito on their roster.
And also, we know how the Giants feel about him. They literally played him over their number 2 last year when it was time to go to another quarterback. I mean, that whether he ends up on the team or not, that's how Daboll feels about him.
That's right.
And so, okay, so final question for you. Could you put a pupil on our radar? You're training these quarterbacks at a high level, at the high school level.
Yeah.
Are there any names you want to give us right now that we got to keep an eye on, that we should watch as the fall season rolls around?
Damn, man, that you're really putting me on the spot. I honestly, I can't lie. I don't feel comfortable saying this, right? Because I just don't even want to go that way. And also too, for me as a coach, I try to do my best not to emphasize or highlight certain players a little bit more than others, right? And I want to make sure that I'm really just a resource to help them feel more confident in themselves, their ability physically, their craft, right? The experience that I have, and hoping that I'm reflecting some of those good times and bad times to them so they can have a better understanding of how to navigate their own experiences. So I am going to plead the fifth on this one for right now. Now, of course, as the season starts and some of the dudes ball out and, do their thing, maybe we can come back on the show and, we'll do a little highlight aspect of it. But either way, I'm super fortunate that so many parents, coaches, guardians, and players themselves trusting me to improve their skill set, because I know how demanding the position is. And unfortunately, and fortunately for all of us, right, it's just getting more and more demanding at a younger age for this position. So just a ton of credit to everybody who put in a ton of work this offseason to get better.
No, I totally respect that. You could be an NFL coach now at this point, though, because that was a textbook NFL coach answer, non-answer. I mean,
Right.
that is like they got to put that in training videos for the new hires in next year's cycle. I mean,
I appreciate it.
What a job by Matt Sims. So, Matt, thank you so much for being here. Reminder, everybody, we are brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, My Bookie, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, and Salaretta for Men. He is Matt Sims, co-host of the Sims Complete podcast with, as he calls him, Big Phil,
Big Phil,
as well as the Sirius Radio and training quarterbacks at a high level at the youth level. He's doing it all. Matt, thank you so much for being here on Talking Ball. Really appreciate it, man.
Pat, I really appreciate it as always. Really enjoyed talking to you the other day. And it's so funny. Me and Pat are the type of guys, just like this show. He was like 25, 30 minutes, just like our phone call. It ended 5 or 6 different times. We were on the phone for like an hour. And yeah, that's unfortunately, that's what the game of football does to us when we start talking ball. But appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you allowing me to photobomb your camp video earlier this camp as well. But yeah, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, giving me some extra views there. I appreciated that. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Take care.